So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the ninth iteration of CongRegation. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Owen Kennedy, and I'm the glue behind CongRegation. You, on the other hand, are what make this event so special. I've had the unique privilege of reading all of your submissions and your unique perspectives, and it bodes well for what I think is going to be a really great day of engaging conversations and exploration. It's hard to take any one single insight, as it's like watching a giant jigsaw puzzle assemble itself. Some of the themes I've picked up on are that leadership touches everything we do. Frequently, we don't even realize we're leaders. Leading and managing are very different. Inspiring followers is really crucial, and sometimes they dictate the leadership style. Academic learning, the structures and the processes really help, but quite often these insights are underutilized. And personalizing your own leadership style is a lifetime exercise. For me, leadership's hard, and sometimes it's in our nature, sometimes it's learned, sometimes we are chameleons, we adapt and we change. Money and ego can sometimes distort it, but it needs drive and determination. And sometimes it can be the loneliest place on earth, but for certain, it is really, really needed. However, yeah, I think there's a lot of echoes to that. However, despite its obvious importance, we rarely get a chance to really examine it, never mind debate it and tease it out. Indeed, sometimes it's so fused with ego and power that it becomes almost unquestionable. And today we'll start peeling back the outer layers of this multifaceted onion. I know I haunted you with my persistent emails about the submission, but it was only so that we could arrive today, that we would not arrive today cold and without having a perspective. And it's only a catalyst for discussion so that we are effectively walking fast at the start and then getting ready for a sprint. The submission, or just your thinking on the team, means that each of you here today is a peer. For my own submission, I was curious about the notion of rotating leadership rather than it being an endpoint that you clung onto for dear life. Some of your thoughts reflected this, and some of it challenged it, which is wonderful. All of your observations are valid and helpful. Like most people, I can be messy, disorganized, unpredictable, full of contradictions, but being human is what makes this topic so fascinating. Today isn't really about answers, but perhaps about an awakening and just inspiring some sort of new thinking. Despite its terrible human and economic damage, the ongoing pandemic continues to give us the opportunity to step off the treadmill a little bit and examine how we live our lives, what really matters, and a rare chance to examine how we want to mold, lead, and guide our leaders for the world we wish to occupy. I'm hoping that this spirit of shared exploration keeps you energized during the day ahead. From looking at the list, I estimate that about 70% of you have been to CongRegation before, which means that there will be plenty of people to fill in the gaps for the bits that I've forgotten to mention. We have about 85 registered, but I don't expect to see all of us here at the same time. The fluid structure means that you can drop off for Saturday duties and drop back in again if you wish. I'll be managing the virtual lobby all day. In a few minutes, I'll separate each of you into huddles, which are called breakout rooms in Zoom jargon. Each of these huddles will have a chair. You may have to wait a few seconds while the chair arrives, as I'll be teleporting them to the right rooms. Each huddle lasts about an hour. Up to 3 people will be asked to discuss their submission or their thoughts in each huddle for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A and sharing your minds. The timings of this might vary a little bit, as some of you have requested more time, which is fine. Just let the chair know in advance. The first huddle will be a bit tighter in timing, but we have plenty of time during all the breaks to catch up. And we repeat this 4 times during the day before regrouping for the poetry open mic at 7 p.m. if you can make it. At the start, you'll be asked to introduce yourself and to give a life hack. So please limit your introduction just to your name and what you do. The life hack can be a fun tip, piece of business advice you received, or a philosophy that you live by. It's up to you to decide. The rules for today are fairly self-explanatory, so I only want to highlight some of the key ones, and they're also in the briefing document. So first up, volunteer early, and this really helps the chair. Don't take or offer offense. Please stay on the topic of leadership, because all of your people have come here expecting that, and you've done a lot of hard work to craft that area. Huddles can be really comfortable areas, but please do not ignore unrelated personal topics. Think huddles, not cuddles. Use the breakout time for off-topic but really important personal kind of updates, and we have a number of breaks during the day. Try to be as distinct as possible and avoid rambling, and especially because we're in an online environment, it's even more overt then. And please be as inclusive as possible. So this means giving equal opportunity to all voices, or even better, to actively encourage others to speak up. So not everyone's comfortable in this environment, and sometimes you may, along with the chair, need to just encourage other people, but definitely leave space for everybody. And expect robust debate, but please be respectful. And sometimes that means just draw a breath. And not everyone is like you, nor should they be. However, it's also not a competition or making others to see and share your view. And ask for group permission before recording, if you're recording or taking pictures, and please use the chat function, especially for points that interest you. The hands up feature is also useful if you're finding it difficult to be heard. And naturally, this online version of CongRegation, it's a poor relative to being in Cong, but if you can use some of the virtual backgrounds taken from the previous huddles, and it might make it more Cong-esque, and I will put the link into the chat. The chairs today, they have a particularly difficult job, and I thank each and every one of them. They're giving their time freely, so please work with them and follow their direction. I asked each of them to chair in a certain way, so please direct any error to me rather than to them. You'll recognize them from their background or inclusion of the word chair in their name. I'll be in the lobby all day if you need to jump off and I need to rejoin. You can also call me to your huddle if need be, but expect the unexpected. Zoom does a random selection, but it's even more imperfect than the normal spreadsheet that we have at CongRegation. So if you find yourself in a room with similar people and wish to leave and come back to the main lobby, I will try reallocate you to another room. The schedule for today is 10:30 to 11:30, 12 to 1, 2 to 3, 3:30 to 4:30, and breaks in between. And later this evening, we'll group for the poetry open mic around 7 to 8. Some of you have already contacted Paul ahead about reciting poetry at open mic, but if you have a last minute change of mind, Paul and I will be there from about 6:45 so that he can schedule you in. During the 30 minutes break, you're free to dash off for a comfort break or stick around to catch up with old acquaintances. I'll try to break the room so that you can join them if that's open. If everyone wouldn't mind muting just for a second. This year, most of you are probably at home in Ireland and further afield, although there's some of you joining in from Cong Village. I could see Geraldine, and there are also some mini clusters, especially in Mullingar. Hello, Joan and Claire. Finally, I would like to thank all of our sponsors who stuck with us despite the move to online. And take a bow: John McGee from Mail.ie, Tim from MKC Communications, Michele from Black Knight Solutions, Aidan from the ICBE, and Paddy from Informed Decisions, Tracy from Grow Remote, and Dara and the team who are chairing today from Common Purpose. Now, if you just wouldn't mind, bear with me for a few minutes while I set up the rooms. In a few minutes, you'll see a notification on the screen asking you to go to a room. If you wouldn't mind, please accepting that. There may be a slight delay as I teleport the chairs to the right huddles, so feel free to just chat amongst yourselves as they arrive, or check out Tipia, which is also in the chat. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you back here in 1 hour.